Hello, I'm Graham Lewis, and in this short video we're going to look at an applied word problem round about the grade 7 to 9 level, which is involving a linear equation. So let's have a look at it. Emily has 6 times as many dimes as quarters in her piggy bank. She has 21 coins in her piggy bank in total, totaling $2.55. And what we have to do is form an equation to model the situation, then solve it to find out how many quarters she's got and how many dimes she has. Now, for anyone listening around the world who doesn't know what a quarter and a dime is, a quarter equals 25 cents and a dime is 10 cents. So that's how much it works. And obviously there are 100 cents in $1. So when I'm doing a problem like this, I always like to think of what happens just putting numbers in before we go into algebra. So firstly, let's just think about x being the number of quarters, which is a little hint the question gave. Sometimes the question won't give you that hint and you'll have to define it. So x is the number of quarters. So let's think about how many dimes we've got. We've got 6 times as many dimes. So if I've got 3 quarters, then I must have 18 dimes, which is 6 times 3. If I have 10 quarters, then I would have again 6 times as many, so 10 times 6 is 60 dimes. So if I've got x quarters, then I must have 6 times x, 6x dimes, because I have 6 times as many dimes as I have quarters. So we know that x is the number of quarters, so 6x would be the number of dimes. Okay, so once we've defined the number of quarters and the number of dimes, we're ready to actually find an equation. And we want to find an equation involving the cost here. In total, she has $2.55. Now, what I'm going to do is convert that into cents, because we're talking cents. So $2.55 is 255 cents. So that's the first thing I'm going to do to make sure that I'm in all the same units, because x is the number of quarters, 6x is the number of dimes. We're going to work in cents. So always decide what units you want to work in. And I think cents is easier for this problem because we're not into decimal numbers. Okay, so now this is the tricky bit. I want to find out how much money she has in an algebra expression, because then if I know how much money she has with an algebra expression, I can just put it equal to 255 and we can solve. So the hard thing is getting the algebra expression of how much money she has. So let's have a look how to do that. Let's think about the quarters first. Now, this is quite tricky, so what I tend to do is put numbers in. So, for example, imagine I had 2 quarters. So if I have 2 quarters, I'm not really interested in the answer, I'm interested in how you work it out. So if we have 2 quarters, a quarter's worth 25 cents, so we've got 25 times 2, which I know is 50 cents, but I'm more interested in the 25 times 2. Now imagine I've got 3 quarters. How would we work out how much money we've got? 25 times 3, which I know is 75 cents, but I'm not as interested in that. If I've got 4 quarters, it would be 25 times 4, because I've got 4 quarters, which is $1, 100 cents. If I have 10 quarters, it's 25 by 10, so 250 cents, which is $2.50. So as you can see, to find the amount of money that we have here, all we have to do each time is multiply 25 by the number of quarters we have. I always like to put some numbers in because it helps me get a feel for the problem and helps me generalize when we go for letters. So now, how many quarters do we actually have? I know it's abstract, but we have x. That's what we've said. We've got x number of quarters. That's how many quarters we have. So instead of 25 times 2, instead of 25 times 3, we don't have 3 quarters. Well, we may have, we don't know. Instead of 25 times 10, if we have 10 quarters, it's 25 times x. And a nicer way of writing 25 times x is, of course, we don't need the multiplied sign, 25x. So 25x represents the amount of money with the quarters. That's how much money Emily has just in quarters. She's got 25 times the number of quarters which she had x. So now let's do the same with dimes. So of course, how many dimes have we got? Well, we've got 6x number of dimes. So the same as before, a dime is worth 10 cents. So 10, if I had 2 dimes, it would be 10 times 2, 20 cents. If I had 5 dimes, it would be 10 times 5, 50 cents. How many dimes do I have? I don't have 2. Well, maybe I do, I don't know. But we have 6x, number of dimes. So it's 10 times 6x, because 6x is the number of dimes we have. So the total amount of money Emily has in dimes would be 60x, because 10 times 6 is 60, and we don't need the multiplied sign, because the number next to the letter means multiply. So how much money does Emily have in total? Well, we know she's got 255 cents because the question tells us that's what she has in her piggy bank. But in quarters, she has 25x. And in dimes, she has 60x. And we know that equals 255 cents, $2.55. Just for those as an aside, if you wanted to work in dollars, clearly it would be 0.25x plus 0.6x equals 2.55. And you can see I don't like that as much because it's into decimal. So it's easier in this question, I think, to work in cents rather than dollars. But you have to be consistent. You can't jump and mix around. Okay, so when I'm solving this, let's solve it. 25x plus 60x is 85x. And I get 255. Now, obviously, I'm going to use the balance method here. So I'm going to divide both sides by 85 because x is being multiplied by 85. So on the left-hand side, if I divide 85x by 85, clearly that's an x. I'm not going to show my working, but I know some of you like to, and that's fine. But I'm going to show it on the right-hand side. 255 divided by 85. And I get that x is equal to 3. So in actual fact, Emily has 3/4. Because x was the number of quarters. Now to find the number of dimes, we can do it 2 ways. We can either go back to how many dimes we have. We have 6x number of dimes. That's the way I'm going to do it here. So she has 6 times 3 equals 18 dimes. Or you could go back to the question where it told you there are 21 coins altogether. So 21 minus 3 is 18. I like to do it the 6x way because then I can see that I've got the question right because 18 plus 3 does give me the 21 coins altogether. And that's how to solve this tricky equation. Again, just to remind you, I think it's really easier if you actually put numbers in to get a feel for the problem, like I did up here. So like when we had number of dimes, 10 times 2 equals 20. You're not interested in the answer 20, you're interested in the process. So then you can generalize and put letters in which account for the numbers. Well, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, please leave any comments below and suggestions for me to improve. And please watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.